So we're going to get started, and I just want to welcome everyone here and thank you all for coming. There are people here from different parts of the world, from Israel, from England. There are people from different states, from California, North Carolina, and other places. And we're also live streaming this to China, Israel, the Netherlands, California, and other locations. And we just appreciate how all of you have come together to honor and celebrate Michael's life. And many of you know it would have been his 29th birthday today, and he died just over 9 months ago, and it's very overwhelming for us, and we just really appreciate all the support and being here to remember everything that was wonderful about Michael. And today's speakers are friends, family, neighbors, teachers, people who knew Michael here in the U.S., people who knew and lived with him in China, and we have so many different perspectives to share today, and we're just so grateful that you're all here with us. So thank you.
So I think we're going to start with just a little video of pictures of Michael as he grew up. A lot of ways we remember him. So appreciate it.
Or can you dim the lights a little bit in the front and start the video, please? Thank you.
yours, and you can either sink or swim. Things are looking pretty grim if you don't believe in what there's no feeling. It's got no feeling, so we'll do it again, and again, and again. Sure seems the same, just in a different names. Our hearts are strong, our heads are weak, we'll always be competing, never know. We're shocking, but nothing, we're just moments. Clever, but clueless, we're just human. Music, confusing, but the truth is, all we got is questions, we'll never know. Never know.
We just want to show a complete picture of who Michael was as a person. He was so wonderful and just so special. And so we just put together some pictures and thoughts, and I'm going to talk a little bit, and a number of people are going to talk, and Steve's going to talk at the end. So this, first of all, fun. Michael was fun, funny, I think we have to think of categories: fun, funny, food, family, friends, frequent flyer for traveling, and also China, being Jewish, and his family. This is a picture of Michael with Tasha Balin, who's going to be speaking later, a friend of his from high school and college. Here's the full view. Now, Tasha was Nicki Minaj. I don't know who Michael was. This, I love the commentary. I decided on Leah Hamilton, who looked like he belonged on Jersey Shore, like the situation Cohen. This is with me at New Year's. This is Michael commenting about when he was in a Chinese Starbucks that he could see on the side that they wrote, Mr. Foreigner. So he's commenting on that. This is a fake Zach Galifianakis, from The Hangover, which is a movie that all of our kids just think is very funny and have lots of jokes from. So Michael ran into this impersonator in Las Vegas. Just being excited about turning 18, turning 21. And if you look really closely in the back here, you can see whose plane this is that landed right when Andrew and Michael were in Florida. So they had to take a picture of that. Food. So this is a typical birthday. Michael loved carrot cake, specifically the Moosewood cookbook carrot cake recipe, which I always made for him. And he loved berries. He loved raspberries and currants and all different kinds of berries. And that was pretty much his request. Anytime he'd come home from China, he would just say, can you get berries? So anyway, so this is some of his favorite foods and kind of a typical birthday scene. Mike was always interested in unexpected foods and unexpected places. So this is Duncan in Xi'an, China, that he found. He was thrilled when he found a really good Lux bagel place in Beijing. And I remember him posting this and thinking, wow, that looks pretty good in Beijing. So here, and then there's a lot of commentary between his English and Chinese-speaking friends about, I don't know what they're saying, but talking about some of the people in the audience know. And then the big news was they opened a second location right here where Michael lived. He had moved a couple times in China, so that was very exciting. And then this is with his friend Matt, a good friend in China. I don't know what this food is, but something they were excited about. And I remember when Michael was in China for the second time. The first time was in high school, the second time was a semester abroad during college. And I remember he went to a Passover Seder and they sent him home with matzah. And he went and he and one of the other Jewish kids in the group made matzah brei for the whole group. And a lot of the Chinese, you could see the commentary that they thought it was an American food. But anyway, so Michael got a big kick out of that. He always loved it whenever the intersection of China and Judaism. That was a really fun place for him. This is his really good friend Evan Saul, who just called us right before we came here because we always say Evan is to Japan what Michael was to China. Evan speaks fluent Japanese. He lives and works in Japan. He actually was just getting on a plane to go back to Japan. He's from Columbus, Ohio. And Michael visited him in Tokyo, and they found Dippin' Dots in Tokyo. That was a big deal. They were very excited. And then this is with his friend Ellie Rudy in Jerusalem when they were able to have burgers and fries during Passover because the buns are made out of potato bread. So that was exciting. And then when Michael came back here to the US, I think he missed maybe the Wegmans appearance, or maybe he wasn't paying that much attention, but he would get really excited when there were certain foods that he'd find after he had moved back here after living in China for 4 years. And so the Cheryl Ann's Challah, those of you who are locals know how good it is. He was thrilled to have found that at Wegmans. We have a family WhatsApp and everyone was on it and we'd always throw in comments, and this is something that he commented on. Very excited about his favorite granola that he found in the local Target around the block from where we live now. And then anyone who knows Michael well knows that his favorite restaurant is Roy's. It's an Asian fusion restaurant. It's mostly in California, and maybe in Florida, and there's this one in Chicago. So whenever Steve and I would go out to visit him in college, he was at Pomona College in Claremont, California for college, and we'd always go to Roy's there. So Michael was always happy, and happiest when he was close to Roy's. Also, he's very jazzed about unexpected Jews in unexpected places, not just unexpected food. And so this is friend Jamie Fleischman, who's going to be speaking later, who lived in Beijing with Michael. And this is from the Kaifeng Jewish community in China. I know that some of you have been there. And Michael was very excited to meet the Kaifeng Jews there. There's just a few of them left. Always seeking out something Jewish wherever he goes. So this is the Shanghai Jewish Refugees Museum. And then his home away from home, the Kihilat Beijing congregation. They have every Friday night they would have a lay-led service, and also the best part, Shabbat dinner afterward with matzo ball soup and roast chicken and all those great comfort foods that you would want after a week of eating Chinese food. And so that was a special place for him, the Kihilat Beijing congregation. And then, here's a picture of some of the congregants, actually multi-generational, very, lots of families, there are bar mitzvahs there, really pretty active congregation there in Beijing, non-denominational, it's kind of pluralistic, really, really great place. And then also another home for Michael was the Beijing Moishe House. And if, those of you who aren't familiar with Moishe House, it's kind of like Hillel for young professionals, so it's not the religious stuff, but it's all the events and fun stuff that is Jewish related for young professionals. And they have Moishe houses in locations all around the world. And the Beijing Moishe House was a place where Michael spent a lot of time. It's an apartment that a few people live in, and they get rent subsidy, and then they hold events there. And I think they also have their regular jobs, but it's a really cool model. And you can see this is pictures from Moishe House, Beijing. This is some event that they had. And then Michael, I remember him commenting to me that he went to 3 Passover Seders in the year before he came back to the US, and they were 3 in a row, and they were all different, and they were all special. And I found some pictures from them, and this was the Kihilat Beijing Passover Seder. This was a Passover Seder in a private home for one of the founders of the congregation. He was so honored to be invited to that, and I think he was almost like feeling uncomfortable sneaking this picture, but he was really just sharing it with our family. It didn't get posted anywhere on social media, but now I'm showing it to everyone here. And then the Moshe House had a third night of Passover, an extra night, and that was also a great experience. So those Jewish experiences in China, I think, were sort of at the heart of a lot of what he did outside of work and outside of his Chinese friends with the Jewish community. The last Shabbat before he came back to the U.S., the Hillel Beijing congregation had a service, and they honored Michael, and I love this picture, and it was really special to him. And then after Michael died, there are a number of people from the Beijing Moshe House who are now in New York, and they had a special dinner for our family in honor of Michael, and they made Chinese food and Israeli and Jewish food, and we had this evening, and it was very special, but very sad. And then the Moshe House organization created the Michael Cohen Award. It's a travel fellowship, and the first person who won this award was Ann Goldner, and we actually got to meet Anna. She's from New York, but she's in Boston, and she's so warm, and she's so community-oriented, and she personifies so many of the qualities of Michael, and she was just the perfect person to be the first award recipient. And we have David Siegelman, who is the founder of Moshe House, who's actually here today. I don't know where David, there he is. So thank you for joining us. That is such a big part of Michael's life, and this award is something that we're so grateful for carrying on a part of Michael's legacy. Mike was also very interested and excited to meet all the California Jews. I'm actually from Long Beach, California, and so when he went to Pomona, he's like, oh, I'm going to meet all the LA Jews. And one of the things they had in LA was this thing, and I think it's still going, it's called Jewlicious. I just thought that was always such a funny name, but the first of Jewlicious, and they had hundreds and hundreds of college students from all over the state come to Southern California, and this first one was at the Long Beach Jewish Community Center where I grew up, and they had Montes Yahu, the Israeli rap star performing. Anyway, there's a lot going on, and my mother would always stop by and visit Michael because she lived right near there. So that was fun. Hillel. Michael was very involved in Hillel in the Claremont colleges. This is with his friend Ellie Rudy, and just a funny poster. You can see the commentary. Then Michael and a group of people got together and they started the bar mitzvah party, which I think they have sometimes on college campuses. But you see how Michael describes it: middle school music, chairlifting, Manischewitz, and docents. And I think it was huge, and lots of people, you didn't have to be Jewish to go. A lot of people went, and it was super fun, and it became kind of a tradition on campus. And Michael, that's the kind of thing he just loved. This is the Hillel board he was involved in. Hanukkah, outdoor retreats. This is with his friend Becca Rosenthal. They had a big Joshua Tree trip. Havdalah, and then the Jewish Mentor Program. Michael was really involved in that too, and that was important to him. So you can see some themes here. Friends. So anyone who's been friends with Michael knows that hallmark of who he was his deep relationships with people he cared about. And even Evan was talking about, when you get Michael, it's like you can really feel it. And he posted this, I remember he posted this on Facebook because his two lifelong friends, Lucas Harris and Eliana Wallach, were getting married, not to each other, but getting married the same weekend to other people. And So Michael posted about that, and it was just such a cute picture to see all three of them. This is senior year at Pomona. That's Tasha, not in the Nicki Minaj costume on your far left. And so suite mates at college. They lived in a new dorm on campus. I remember that was exciting. Friends from high school. Michael went to the Commonwealth School. This is at Tasha's wedding. And speaking of weddings, Michael had a special role at 2 Chinese weddings. One of them was our friends Xin and Waning. And you know, I'm just going to brag a little bit about Michael. A lot of people knew he was fluent in Mandarin and spoken Mandarin, but he was also fluent in written Chinese, which is less common. And I don't have very many examples of his actual handwriting, because most of the time everyone's just typing, right? So he was asked to do a toast to Xin and Waning at their wedding, and found on this page of his written Chinese where he was writing out in English and in Chinese what he was going to be saying. And so it's just one of the very few pieces of paper that we have with his Chinese writing on it. He also gave the toast for a colleague and friend in Beijing, Silver, his wedding, and Michael's best man. And there he is with the extended family, and that was a really wonderful experience for him. And he had, when he first went, second trip to China, he was there for a semester, and he had a Chinese roommate, and I don't even know this Chinese roommate's name. I just know that he was very special friends with him, and when he was back in China a couple of years later, he went to his graduation, and so that was his first real roommate, I guess dorm mate. And then this is his last roommate. So before Michael moved back to the U.S. In late 2016, this one of his other suite apartment mates moved out, and Chuck moved in, and he's from the Philippines. And I just found this, but you can see that Chuck is thanking Michael for taking him out. This is something Michael would do, to say you have to have like a Peking duck, like a real Peking duck dinner. And so that was an experience that they had right when Michael was leaving and Chuck was arriving. And then a friend of Michael's from China, Hunter, he just did this. He ran his first Ironman, and we had no idea he was doing this. And then he posted this picture of him at the finish line with holding up that picture, and you can see on the right. And he said, you know, this is for my good brother, Michael Cohen. That's why I did this. Travel with Michael was a total joy. It was one of Michael's passions, that he just loved everything about traveling. And I had 2 experiences traveling with Michael that I will cherish forever. One was in 2015. I was speaking in Korea, and Seoul was only 2.5-hour plane ride from Beijing. And so I went to see Michael, and he picked out all these special things for us to do together based on what he knew I would love to do. So like, he knows I love like walking around and in beautiful parks, and so he said, I picked this park specially because there's so many interesting things going on, and it's beautiful, and I knew you would love it. And he picked restaurants that he knew I would like because of certain kinds of food, and he just took so much care in doing that, and that was classic. That's how Michael invested in all his relationships. And then this is a picture the following year. I was speaking in Japan, and he met me in Tokyo. And again, did all this research, and this is just a park with all like many different varieties of sake, and they had this shrine in there, and again, just walking around, and he's so enthusiastic and upbeat as a traveler, and it was just so much fun to have that time with him. This is when Steve and I were in China in 2011, and we actually hired a guide to take us through the Forbidden City and parts of it, and Michael was way better than the guide. So it was just a joy to travel with him, and even to talk about travel. So again, on the family WhatsApp, I arrived in New York, and I just happened to mention I'm at a Hilton, and he'll chime right in. make sure you get the 750 point bonus points. And I'm like, really? They didn't say anything about that. Or else, I would be on at Heathrow, and he's like, okay, on the way back, when you're going through Heathrow, there's like 3 different lounges. There's terminal number 1, terminal 5, 5A, this one's crowded, that one's not. Like a lot of detail, because Mike was very, very much into loyalty programs and flyers, and he went to some conferences on it. He did. It was so funny. He was so happy when he came home. It was like he found his people. It's like they all got there and no one paid cash, right? And also, okay, so I switched these miles for that miles. I got this credit card, and then I had that, and we exchanged this. Like all this intricacy. And of course, they all worship the points guy, which is one of the big gurus. And so Michael, I guess he sent something in about how he planned this last-minute trip to South Carolina during the eclipse, when everything was already booked. And I think he paid $56 for this entire trip, and he detailed how he did it, and they published it. And so, that was another that made it onto the family WhatsApp too. China, we've been talking about China and how it's interwoven. Michael's been focused on China since 6th grade. You're going to hear from Jay Gao, his beloved Chinese teacher, and everything about China has been part of his life for years. So he just travels there. He loves every part of it. Oh, there we go. That's when he was I guess the first time and the second time he went. But see the comment? He's like, oh my God, you're wearing the Beaver Creek sweatshirt. So that must have been a sweatshirt that he wore all the time that drove people crazy. So I was wearing it. And then this is just like commentary about a certain place that he's visiting, and some detail and back and forth in Chinese and in English about it. This I thought was interesting. So this is kind of combines food and China. So this is a dish, and he says this dish is, the name for it is so complex, they don't have it on the normal typing, and that symbol in the middle with all of that complexity is the symbol for this kind of food. So you just note that kind of thing. That was always fascinating to him. Successfully used Celsius. We're talking about the weather yesterday. that was a big deal. And then just pictures, traveling. And then Steve will talk a little bit about Michael and photography. I'm not even resting on that, but Michael loved taking pictures, and he had lots and lots of great pictures, and this is just what really beautiful one. Family, of course, his family. We're like a super tight family, and that's probably why this is so extra hard. But just fun interaction with all the kids. That was Patriots game when it was raining. It was still fun. This actually was not that fun. I was so proud of myself because I had handmade all 3 of these Halloween costumes. Like, you couldn't get me to shut up about how I had made Halloween costumes myself. And they were all like, oh, we were so embarrassed to wear these, and we wish we could have just worn a store-bought costume like everyone else. So it was almost fun. But listen to me. When Michael died, and our Rabbi Suzanne Ogden said to us, you're not only saying goodbye to Michael, but you're saying goodbye to all the hopes and dreams that we had for his future. And it's really true. And one of the pieces of it is this bond that the 4 kids had with each other. And Michael was such an anchor in that. And it's just, we all feel it. Every member of our family feels his absence as an individual, and also the absence of this unit in the aftermath of his death. And just our kids always dance together at bar mitzvahs. They always dance with their arms around each other at weddings, and whenever there's an opportunity when they're all together. And that's just part of who they are as a group. And so that this loss has been really hard. And then our family WhatsApp. So he died February 17th, and we didn't use this family WhatsApp ever again. We started a new thread with the 5 of us. And then a while later, and the kids don't even know this, I went back on the WhatsApp, and it said that at the bottom, and it should have been because his account closed up, or I don't know what happened, but it actually said Cohen legal age left, and somehow that happened a few months after he died, and that hit me so hard. I don't know why, that more than anything else, but that was really hard. So I've talked to you, a number of you individually, but I'll say it as a group that one of the things that I'm most afraid of is when I talk about this is that we're afraid that people are going to forget Michael. And we're just, a few, in the short term and the long term, that we're going to forget, or not we're going to forget, but other people are going to forget. And so anything that you can do to remember him, or something special that he did, or something that he wrote, or that you have, or any kind of communication or memory, please hold on to it. And maybe periodically remind us about it, because it's really important to us. Okay, so I'm going to finish now and call up David. A number of people are going to speak. I'm going to turn this over to David.
Thank you, guys. I guess in trying to answer the question of how my relationship with Michael was, the one sentence I can use to even kind of remotely answer the question is I felt safe. I felt safe with him. I will never understand his death or why it happened. But the feeling of security on the other hand is something that I will always understand. Always. Any kind of joke I wanted to share, any movie or YouTube video, no matter how dumb. Some examples include the Big Kung Fu Panda from Disaster movie. The mashup of Biggie Smalls and Thomas the Tank Engine theme song. It's on YouTube, look that up. And then Alessia Cara, Nicki Minaj impersonation of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah. By the way, mashup means a mix of 2 songs. It's a very, very cute Michael term. Be important throughout the day. And these go on to be repeated time and time again. So he creates a very mutually positive and memorable experience. And growing up, I had very, very severe social anxiety, so there are very few places for me to hide from deep pain. So simply just being myself. But one of those places, one of the few places was Michael. And there are no words to communicate. Very few how special that was, but I really want to make sure that that portion of Michael's character was included today, because it was one of the main pillars, if not the main pillar of his character. Just how accepting he was of everyone he knew, of solely who they were. I hope that as many of you here got to experience that. I hope you remember it. Thank you guys very much for being here today.
Thank you, David. So Sarah has a few words to say, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. It's obviously an awful day to come together, but it is really nice to see so many warm faces and so many people who meant so much to Michael and mean so much to our family. So I wanted to share some memories about Michael. You'll hear a lot of stories from friends, from family. Michael's Chinese teacher, one of our neighbors, our former neighbors is speaking. But I wanted to share a sibling perspective. So for those of you with siblings, you probably know that the banter that takes place between siblings often consists of bathroom jokes, imitating people, watching and repeating YouTube videos, making up nicknames, that kind of thing. So our relationship is very much like that. Being the only girl with 3 brothers, I certainly heard and participated in a fair share of my humor that was inappropriate for polite company. But of course, being the only girl was a huge part of it is a huge part of my identity, and a lot of kind of the way people knew me was, oh, she had 3 brothers. It taught me loyalty, sticking up for myself, not taking things too seriously, and it'll always be a part of me, being the girl with the 3 brothers. So losing one of those brothers sometimes feels like losing part of my identity. And losing Michael was really like turning off a light of pure warmth that really held our siblings together and really kind of was the glue between the 4 of us. So many people have described Michael as a very kind person. He was definitely the kindest person I've ever known. But what you may not know is he's also one of the funniest people I've ever known. So we shared a sense of humor that made up the majority of our text conversations and Facebook posts. It was basically sending back and forth dumb comments to each other day in and day out. So I went through our Facebook this morning, and I've kind of been looking through our texts and different things in the last few weeks. So on April 27th, 2017, I posted an article to Michael's Facebook page about the iconic shoes video. Some of the younger people in here might remember the shoes. Oh my God, shoes. And of course, it needed to be commemorated because it was the 10-year anniversary of the video. Some of you might know that I tend to have an alter ego of a Jewish grandmother in her 80s. So on April 8th, 2017, my 24th birthday, Michael sent me a birthday message saying, quote, "Hope you're enjoying the first few months of being 94. Very fitting. And then, of course, on July 31st, 2012, I posted on Michael's Facebook wall about Snoop Dogg, who had changed his name to Snoop Lion. And then a year later, October 17th, 2013, Michael and I debated the merits of Snoop Lion's next name, Snoopzilla. And we, of course, had to band together because this was, life-changing. The ground came out from underneath us, and Snoop Lion would change his name to Snoopzilla. And then, of course, as David mentioned, Michael was very good at mashups, and we'd play the mashups at college parties, and he was really, really talented at this. So this would be like a typical text or comment from Michael. So September 27th, 2010, when I was in high school and Michael was in college, he posted on my wall saying the following: "I've been listening to the radio as I finish my paper. Couple things. First, they played Like a G6 and Memories. Second, they played this new Rihanna song called Only Girl in the World, and it would mix really well with Hadag Nachash Hinani Ba. Hadag Nachash is an Israeli band that we really liked. So of course, Michael was just coming up with these things every day, and he'd text me and say, "Oh look, I got this new one." The Biggie Smalls and Thomas the Tank Engine was pretty fantastic. So also kind of within our sort of 4-kid unit, we all have a lot of nicknames for each other. David definitely wins the award for the most nicknames. You can ask him after. The variations of the nicknames, that's probably about 50 names long or something at this point. But Michael and I had a few for each other. So it all started when my mom would call me Sarah, which then became Sarah's, Sarah's Sarah's knees, and more. So Sarah's knees, somehow Michael kind of took a liking to that one, and he would call me Knees, spelled K-N-E-E-Z. So anytime we would text, it would begin with knees with like 30 E's in between. And then on my end, Michael somehow turned into Michelob, like the beer. Michelob turned into Loeb, Loben, Earlobe, Lobizzle. And either way, we had a thing for nicknames and kind of names in general, because on September 10th, 2010, Michael posted on my Facebook wall saying, "Haha, I just watched the top 60 kosher Kosher Jewish Names YouTube video, and my favorites were I Live in Brooklynburg, Lotkowitz, and Oh Man. So this is the kind of thing Michael and I just joked about all the time. We were often on opposite sides of the globe or opposite sides of the country. So every time we'd see each other, we'd have what we'd call a 5-hour talk. And it wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go sit for 20 minutes and yeah, we're catching up for 5 hours. It was literally 5 hours. We would sit down and just catch up about everything. Funny stories from being abroad, like when I saw a kid walking his pet donkey on a busy street in Jordan, or when Michael went up to me and said he saw a guy with his pet monkey on a leash walking around the streets of Beijing. We talk about school, our jobs, our travels, our love lives, which usually involves me egging him on, like, Michael, are there any nice Jewish ladies in your life right now? Nudging him until he told me, so he's like, oh, sorry, leave me alone, leave me alone. So I wish more than anything that I could have another 5-hour talk with Michael. So much I want to tell him, my life in New York, my new dog, my boyfriend who Michael had an opportunity to meet, I'm really happy about. And times at the UN, I'm working at the UN now, and every time I hear China speak at the Security Council, I always get a little sad. I think, Michael would have thought this was so cool. And I walked by the leader of China a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, Michael, I thought this was awesome, and it really sucks not to be able to text him this kind of thing and call him up and say, you would have loved this. I would give anything for a lifetime of 5-hour talks with Michael and to hear about his life and to be with him, to live it. Obviously, I know that's not possible, so the next best thing is being able to share some of those memories with all of you. And I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
So, next speaker is Claire. Claire was our Navy. 2 years, 2 different ones. It was really proud of Claire. I don't know if she was mother or the, we love it.
Responsible for all manners. The kids learn because I didn't teach it.
Okay, is that okay? Okay, thanks. Okay, I can talk to anyone, generally, and anyone who will listen to me about Michael. I can, without hesitation, recall many stories about my relationship with Michael over the years, from when he was a 7-year-old boy and I was his au pair, to when he was an ambitious, amazing young man who became my friend. I can talk about what he meant to me, about the fun we had, and about the sadness that I have that he's no longer here. But when I try to sit down and write something to save a day, I really struggled. I don't know where to start, because I have so many stories to tell. But last week I asked my 7-year-old daughter, Aya, for advice, and she told me to just tell everybody that he was a great guy. And I think that was really good advice, because Michael really was a really great guy. When I think about him as a boy, I remember his smile, and we've seen that on these fabulous photographs. He was joyful, clever, friendly, and he had a laugh that was infectious, and he often made me cry, laughing so hard. And I debated whether to tell my favourite story about Michael, and I was just telling Andrew this yesterday, but I'm going to tell it anyway. And one of my favourite memories was when I was in the house with Sarah, who was about 4 at the time. And Michael came running inside, having been out at the pool. He was screaming and he was laughing so hard that he had tears rolling down his face. And it was because he had the biggest snot hanging from his nose, and it was almost touching the floor. It really was. And I couldn't actually help it because I was laughing so hard. And you might not think it's a story fit for today, really, but Michael and I laughed about this forever. And we both even recalled this story just even a few years ago when he came home to visit in England. And it was just a silly story that meant nothing, but a story that made us both laugh a lot, and that is now really precious, and it now means everything. I remember long car journeys where for fun, Mike would ask me to give him a maths question. And I'm not talking like 2 times 2, he would want like 73.56 divided by 4.35. And I was always thankful when Carol was travelling with us. Because I'm pretty sure she could sense the panic in me and she would allow her super intelligent brain to step in and she would take over the maths question game. Over the years I've visited Boston a lot to spend time with the Cohens, and as the kids have grown up they've come to visit me in Newcastle, apart from Sarah, but it's on the list I'm told. Michael came to stay on 2 occasions. The first one I think he was about 18. And he hung out with me and my family, and I think that maybe when that was taken, I can't remember. He visited the sites of North East England. I took him for his first legal beer in England. Very proud of that one. But I remember one evening, I was living on my own at the time, and I was heading to bed, and Michael said, "Oh, I'm not really tired, can we just talk for a while?" And as you know, and as Sarah has just said, Michael could really, really talk. And I remember I was so tired and I was in bed and Michael sat on the end of my bed and talked and talked and talked about plans, about travel, what he wanted to do, about friends, school, and just about everything really. But I do remember thinking at that time that my relationship with Michael had changed and that he was no longer just the kid I looked after, but he was a friend and family really, and someone that I could really share stories with. He came out a few years later, by which time I had a family of my own, my daughter Isla, and she was about 2 at the time. And he was on his European tour. He stopped off in Newcastle for a few nights along the way. And again, we spent time with my family and my mum and my aunties, everybody, and I remember a really, really fun day at Edinburgh Zoo. And I'm really grateful that Isla had the opportunity to meet Michael. I remember one evening on this trip, Michael and I went out with my friends for a night out. And I never had to introduce Michael to anybody, because he would just be straight in there with like, "Hi, I'm Michael," with like a handshake. And everywhere he went, he just brought a reassuring familiarity with him. He put people at ease, and he was really, really easy to be around. And that night we drank a few more beers, maybe a few too many. I think there was about 6 of us together that night, and there was a sing-along in our local pub. And we sang and we danced and we laughed all night. And I particularly remember Michael jumping up and down and singing to We Are Young by the band Fun. We really liked that song. Well, I don't know if we liked it, but he danced a lot to it. And that song has always since reminded me of that night. And I'm so thrilled to have had the experience with Michael. I'm so pleased that he stepped into my home life, where I can now be in that pub or hear that song and know that Michael was a part of it. And when I received the phone call from David to tell me what happened to Michael, I was in the car with my mum, who's here today as well. And I hung the phone up from David and I turned to my mum to tell her, and she said, "Not beautiful Michael." And those words have played on my mind, not beautiful Michael. Because that's exactly who he was. He was a beautiful person, with a beautiful smile and a beautiful heart. And I will never forget Michael. I don't think anybody could ever forget Michael. I will continue to share his stories, the stories that I have with him. I'll talk to my daughter about him. And I will definitely take comfort in knowing that he was my friend. And if he was here, I would say, "Happy birthday, Michael. I love you and I really miss you." Thank you.
Claire really is a part of the family. We are the only family that taught our kids manners with someone who tells snob jokes. Next we have Ms. Gallo, who is like a Chinese teacher from the time it was the 6th grade through 12th grade. Just part of our family.
I don't know where to start. If you think about the years, it's from grade 6, 11 years old, until February 1st, January 31st. We were talking 1 hour for 3 days in a row because he had a job interview. He told me it was a dream job, and we're working on the interview strategies, all in Chinese. And I said, I don't know anything major. What are you doing? And I don't think they care. And I used the Chinese northeastern slang, and I said, oh, 忽悠他们，忽悠. It's a northeastern slang not many people know. It's say almost like BSing to them or talk the talk. And I said, Michael, you didn't understand my Chinese, did you? He was laughing. I said, you understood that? And I said, Michael, if you know those 2 words, you passed the Chinese. His Chinese was so good. He was one of the best students I had. 6th grade, he was in my class. Cute little boy. I had a picture. I was able to dig it out and drive and give it to them. He was the one only kid who didn't have Chinese in the elementary school. Everyone else in that class had 3 years. And I said, Michael, and he's a nervous, serious learner. And he said, I'm not good. I said, compared to yourself, not with others. And I say, in 3 to 6 months, you're gonna be better than almost everyone here because they don't work as hard as you. But don't work too hard, it's okay. You have 3 years to catch up. By the end of this Christmas break, his characters look beautiful. You can tell from the handwriting. And his speaking Chinese was just as good as a lot of non-native speakers had Chinese background learning in elementary school. And also I used him to shame other kids. I said, look, you've been studying in elementary school for 3 years, and someone just came. You must have a bad Chinese teacher. Ironically, I was that teacher myself. We had a great 3 years, and he decided to go to private school. I said, good. You don't have to go to North. Your private school probably has Chinese, but it doesn't matter. He said, no, I have to continue. And I said, there's no Chinese. I'm not quitting to teach in private school. And the next thing I know, he said, I'm coming to your house to study Chinese with you. And I write the school, and they say, fine. He come to my house Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30, 4 o'clock for 4 years. And by the way, I never charged you with the rice and the dumplings. He was always hungry, and he loved rice. And I didn't have time to stir fry rice, which he loved better. And I made my special sauce, and he loved it. He loved it. And later, a couple months later, I said, you can make that sauce yourself. I'm not working for you anymore. It's basically rice, vinegar, soy sauce, and sesame oil, and I put a tiny bit sugar. It made a special sauce, so every time he comes, I serve him a bowl of rice. He loved it. It's a way of bribing him. He loves food, and I knew he was Jewish and wasn't supposed to eat him pork. But the dumplings, he couldn't resist, and he and I said, we can just have a language and culture experience. This is not eating pork. I said, okay, good. I told him I said, Michael, your Chinese is so good, use it as a weapon and find a job, but major something else. So he decided to go to college, and we never stopped talking after his graduating from high school. I would get a phone call, and he said, what do you think of this question? I said, well, the question, we only talk in Chinese. We had conversation every year. I think we stopped for 3 years after he came back from China. He loved his Chinese teacher and the culture, I think both. And I'm the only one who was here in US with 5 siblings in China. All my family is in China. And he said, I'll go visit your family for you. And he went to visit my brother because my brother had a Chinese dumpling place. And he wasn't in the northeast where my family is, in the south, near Shanghai. He went there, and my brother treated him royally because he knew it was one like my son. He had 3 days, 3 meals my brother fed him. And there was one dish, I looked at the dictionary, it's called abalone, but in Chinese it's 鲍鱼. It's very expensive seafood. And at that restaurant, they served him. And my brother told him, this is very expensive. Everyone at the table only get 1 piece. Accidentally, he dropped that piece on the floor. His face, he almost said, maybe I just pick it up and eat. My brother said, it's okay. And he talked to the boss, the owner, the woman. And the owner came back with 2 more pieces just for him. And the reason was because the owner fell in love with this boy. Her daughter is the same age. The next day, they took them to the very old, the oldest Chinese private library and sightseeing. The owner drove her fancy car with her daughter, another friend. And Michael really was happy. I had some pictures to prove. It turned out Michael fell in love with the other girl, not the owner's daughter. And my brother said, Michael asked me if I have anything to do for him so he doesn't feel bad at eating free. But then the real story is that he liked the cashier. Anyway, the story just go on. Michael was an inspiration for all my students after he graduated from high school. Because I made a promise to him. I said, Michael, you like to eat. I like you to visit my student. If you tell them how hard, how easy the Chinese is, how good Chinese, and maybe they look at you speak fluent Chinese, they'll be learning Chinese just like you. And in return, I treat you Chinese lunch. And he would always come. He comes almost every year. And this year, he promised to come after the February vacation. And I didn't know the bad news. When Carol called me, she asked me to sit down. And I said, why do you want me to call you? I just talked to Michael almost 2 weeks ago. And she said that Michael died. And I said, Michael who? She said, this is Carol. I said, who are you, Carol? Carol who? I wasn't really, it was really hard for me. I cried for days. Michael's story is always in my class, how hard, how funny he was. And he and I had a special relationship in the 6th grade. He fell, a kid moved his chair and he fell, he cut open his head. And I jumped over with my hand to cover his bloody head, which my school nurse yelled at me for 5 minutes, and we just trained you yesterday with the gloves, right? Gloves in your chin. And I said that if my child, I wouldn't run to the drawer to get the glove, the more blood would leave me. I think that's the bond we had for the rest of our lives. I just had a conversation with my brother yesterday, and he says, I thought he would come back again to see that girl. But I said, he's never gonna marry that girl. I already told him he would find me a Jewish girl who has to speak Chinese. Thank you so much for inviting me. You know I'm never gonna forget him. I just talk about Michael almost last 2 months, every week. And I cried for 2 months in class, and my kids saying, who's that Michael? And there's only 1 grade, the 8th grade has seen